Good evening. Fantasy football is now upon us. Everyone out there is wondering what they need to get a guy like Adrian Peterson, Jamal Charles, or LaShawn McCoy. Well, getting a top 5 pick will really help you with that goal. And tonight, you find out if that dream becomes a reality. Welcome to the 2014 Running Heads Fantasy Football League Draft Pick Selection Show. Tonight, everyone is going to find out which pick they have so they can prepare for the big day, August 20th. Along with me here, we have the owner of the Weeping Water Sea Lions, Dante Anskus, and defending champion and head of the McLovin X-Rays, Robert Medden. Men, good to have you here. And to start off with some breaking news of the off-season, we lost a member of the league, Ian Stout. He has retired. We brought in the stinky sip, Logan Crowell. What can you expect from this league, Robert?
He's going to expect some fierce competition. He's going to have to bring all the knowledge he possibly has in order to compete. Otherwise, he's going to end up 0-12.
We only play 11 games in this league with Robert.
0-11.
He can expect a loss from the Sea Lions whenever I get him, that's for sure. But it's a tough league, and I'm sure he's going to lose a bunch.
So before we pick where each team will select, what is a team that you do not want to face going into this year?
I definitely don't want to face designated drinkers owned by Dave Fagley. He always comes to the draft prepared. I'll be there with my one piece of paper right here, and he'll not only have this one piece of paper, he'll bring a computer, and he'll bring all this. Someone with all these resources has got to have a lot of knowledge about fantasy football.
Did score about the second or third most points last year. Might have fell in the playoffs, but Dante, who don't you want to face?
It's got to be Jack Meoff. He's at the top every year. He's always in the playoffs, and he's a good owner. He knows what he's doing.
He does know what he's doing. May not come to the draft as prepared as most people, as he says. No, that's correct.
Definitely not. He definitely studies.
All right. But yeah, you need a must-win week 11. Who you want to face?
I'm facing Team Topher. The guy has no skill. He puts the lineups out that are just ridiculous. You look on his bench is better than his starters. It can't stay that way. I want to face him if I need to win.
You want to face?
It's got to be Topher and the Masters. They're both two bad owners. One doesn't work the wire, the other works it too hard. The other doesn't set his lineup until 10 minutes before the thing. You don't know what he's doing. I mean, he's a bad owner.
He is. All right. I know if I'm playing in week 11, I want to face Christian Clubon, at least last year. I mean, he didn't set his lineup. I mean, that's not going to be tolerated this year. There's plenty of people want to get in this league, so if you don't set your lineup, you're going to be out of the league. But I want to face him just based on last year. Alright, so how this is going to work. This isn't going to be official right now, but we're going to pick out of the bingo thing like we did last year. I'm going to spin it. Whenever it comes out in the order of how you finished last year, that's where you're going to pick. For example, not official, but if this is Robert since he came in first. I spin it, pick comes out. If this is real, he'd be picking 5th. And then for so on, Kreischer would be next. He'd be selecting 3rd. That's how it's going to work. This is not official, remember. So, good luck. So these are the final standings of last year. And based off these, you'll find out the order in which you pick based on how the bingo chips come out, starting with Robert Medden in the first bingo chip since he came in first. Then Taylor Kreischer, then Brad Fagley, then Jake Morton. I know Ian Stout came in 5th, but since Logan Crowell's taking his spot, Logan will go down to the 12th pick. So then Zach Millett would have 5th, Dante Anskus would have 6th, Dave Fagley 7th, Chris Medden 8th, Christian Clubon 9th, Brad Okowski 10th, Casey Zavitsky 11th, and Logan Crowell would be 12th. We are now in the official time to see where each team will pick. Like I said, I'll spin it, whichever comes out, that's where your pick is. The McLovin X-Rays. There's their selection. Which will it be, Dante?
It will be 11th.
McLovin X-Rays selecting 11th. Alright. Next up, Team Topher. There it is. Team Topher will be selecting
12th.
Jack Mioff, Brad Fagley will be selecting.
Six.
6. We have Jake Morton of the Winterfell Direwolves. Jake will be selecting at
9.
We have Mullet Mashers. Zach Millett will have which pick?
7.
There's a lot of high picks. You're going pretty early in this
We
one.
still have 1 through 5 left with the Weeping Waters Sea Lions. Here we go. Weeping Waters will be selecting. Fifth, Weeping Waters, Poulsen 5th. Next on the clock, the designated drinkers. They will be selecting 1. The drinkers will be selecting first.
I told
Frank
you.
does not like that pick.
He's
for
the
him.
one you have to worry about.
Next, Elisburg Surge. This is me. I better roll a good dice here. Give me 3 like I did last year. Here we go.
4.
4. I like that pick.
Ain't many.
Alright, the Blue Stampede of Christian. Christian, you'll be selecting
3.
3rd. With only 3 picks to go, we have Brad Wachowski, Casey Savitsky, and Logan Krell. Brad Wachowski will be next. 2nd, 8th, or 10th?
8.
8 for Wachowski. Casey Savitsky, 10th or 2nd?
2.
And that means Logan is left with 10th.
This is the official draft order. Dave Fagley 1, Casey Savitsky 2, Christian Klebon 3, Chris Medden 4, Dante Anskus 5, Brad Fagley 6, Zach Millett 7, Brad Wachowski 8, Jake Morton 9th, Logan Krell 10th, Robert Medden 11th, and Taylor Kreischer 12th.
So there we have it. Selections are in. Number 1, Dave Fagley. 2, Casey Savitsky. 3, Christian Klebon. 4, Chris Medden. 5, Dante Anskus. 6, Brad Fagley. 7, Zach Millett. 8, Brad Wachowski. 9, Jake Morton. 10, Logan Krell. 11, Robert Medden. And at 12, Taylor Kreischer. Who do you think is in the best position other than yourselves in this draft?
It's got to be designated drinkers. Like I said before, I'm worried.
But what's the selection at 1 that he could possibly take? I mean, you have the running backs, Peterson, McCoy, and Charles, but Manning's also on the board. Who do you go there?
You have to go with Shady McCoy. He was just a beast last year. He racked up yards, not only rushing, but also receiving. And in a PPR league, he's the one you need.
Don't you think with Sproles in that system, though, that'll take away some touches from him? When Peterson, you have Jerick McKinnon, a draft pick coming in. That's the only thing you have on that Vikings running back now.
Sproles might eat up a couple carries here and there, but you need to remember, they lost Deshaun Jackson. They're going to need production somewhere. And that fast-paced offense, you're going to get a lot of chances.
All right, Dante, who do you think is in the best position?
I think it's got to be designated drinkers. They got the #1 pick. Dick can do whatever he wants. You know he's going to study out the homework. That's just the kind of guy he is.
Now, besides, if he doesn't go McCoy, where's he going?
He'd be a fool not to go Woodhead. He traded him to me last
Woodhead.
year. He'd be a fool not to take him because I'm coming for him early.
Every single year, there's a player that'll break out, have an unbelievable season, put up 30 or 40 points a game. Last year, that was Josh Gordon of the Cleveland Browns. Who's it going to be this year, Robert?
I'm thinking this year it's going to be Sammy Watkins. I mean, I know he was drafted early by the Buffalo Bills, and he really doesn't have a quarterback, but with all that talent coming in, I think he's going to put on a show.
You know, he's a good competitor to look at, but when they have Robert Woods and Mike Williams on the outside, not a lot of balls might come his way. I'm a little iffy on him as a Bills fan, too. Dante, who are you looking at?
It's got to be Danny Woodhead. I mean, the dude is a playmaker. He catches it. He runs it. He's an every down back. They gave him the ball all the time. He'd be a top 5 player. It's a shame. It's a shame what they're doing.
Just got a new contract. All right. When we go into the bus, you look at a lot of running backs last year picked in the first round. Like me, I picked C.J. Spiller at number 3. I know he got hurt, but he should have had a better year. Robert, who are you looking at for a bus this year?
A bust this year, I'm going to say it's going to be Chris Johnson.
All right, for the Jets.
He was
Wow.
traded away from Tennessee, and now he's going to the Jets, who also will have another bust of Eric Decker. You just can't, if you're on the Jets, it is proven over the years in fantasy football that you are terrible.
And Rex Ryan did not develop talent since he's been there on the offensive side of the ball. How about you, Dante?
I'm going to go with Reggie Bush. I think he's going to get hurt. He's
Always
injury
does,
prone.
yeah.
Someone will take him early, and it ain't going to be the Sea Lions.
All right, Sea Lions ain't taking him for all you out there.
I ain't
listening.
taking him.
All right, we're going to review each position now, so everyone has something to look at. Some sleepers, a little bit of top performers. Let's start at quarterback. Your top 3 quarterbacks and then 2 in the middle of the road who you expect to have good seasons. Robert?
Top quarterbacks for this year, I'm expecting Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers to be the top 3. As for the ones in the middle, I'd go with Andrew Luck. His skills are superb. He's got more weapons this year. I think he'll have a good year. And I also think that Russell Wilson will do well also in Seattle. That defense is very good. And also he has beast mode to rely on that'll bring the coverage down into the box.
That's why I think it's a consensus that Manning, Rodgers, and Brees are 1, 2, and 3. Who's the 2 middle for you, Dante?
The 2 middle for me, I'm saying Johnny Football is going to be a surprise. You heard the herd. The herd's never wrong.
No.
And you know, I'm going to have to say RG3 is the Redskins are going to win the East.
All right. I'm going to stay with Foles just because Chip Kelly's run and gun. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot, moving the ball down the field. And again, you can't go against Tom Brady. He's fallen down each of the last couple of years, but I think he could return to elite status and become maybe a first-round pick. Who knows? All right. Now we go into running backs. Top 3, I'd say consensus: Peterson, Charles, and McCoy. 2 middle guys. Robert?
I like DeMarco Murray. He's a great runner. He runs powerful. He catches out of the backfield. I had him last year. He put up a load of points. He does have some injury issues, but I think he'll be okay this year. Also, I like Le'Veon Bell out of Pittsburgh. It was his rookie year last year. He had some injury problems. I think he'll turn around this year and have a solid season.
They do have Blunt in the backfield along with the rookie, the fastest guy in the combine, Ray Archer. I mean, that could be a 1-2-3 punch like the Giants had back in the day, but we'll see. Dante?
I'm going to have to say Doug Martin, the hamster. I mean, he got hurt last year. I'm sure he's going to come back great. He's a good running back and have a good year.
You have another one, or are you just going to stop at him and Woodhead are your guys.
I say No Sean. I mean, No Sean could have a good year too down in Miami.
All right. And for me, I think you look at Trent Richardson. I mean, he came out of Alabama as one of the premier runners in the game. Never really panned out with the Browns, then got traded to the Colts, never panned out for them, but I think after a year of coaching and off-season with the Colts, he's going to start running a little bit harder and know how to get up and down the field more. That's my pick. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. I think we know that Calvin Johnson, Demaryius Thomas, who I like a lot this year, and Dez Bryant, AJ Green are top 4. Who's your guy who is about at 10 through 15 range that is going to stand out?
This guy I think is going to be a big surprise this year. I'm going to say Cordell Patterson.
All right.
He's a speedster. He returned kicks like crazy last year. He can get open. All he needs is someone to get him the ball, and the Vikings did draft a quarterback this year. Hopefully he'll get his chances to see more reps, and his production will thrive.
So we don't know who's going to be throwing him the ball. Will it be Bridgewater? Will it be Castle? Maybe Ponder even. We'll find out, don't they?
It's got to be the 2 Redskins wide receivers. Garcon and Jackson are going to have huge years, along with Keenan Allen out in San Diego, because him and Woodhead just run things.
Keenan Allen wants to be the best receiver in the game after this year. But to your Redskins thing, it's again, RG3's got to stay healthy, and they got to protect him, because if he has no time, Deshaun can't get open. I mean, Garcon's a nice possession receiver. But for me, it's definitely Wes Welker. Like I said, I like Demaryius. I like Welker too, especially with Manning. Decker's gone. He's getting more targets than they would last year. And I also like Golden Tate of the Lions. You have Calvin Johnson on the outside with Joseph Fourier, Brandon Pettigrew, and the draft pick out of UNC, Eric Ebron in the middle. Tate's going to get a lot of one-on-ones and be open a lot. With Stafford's big arm, I think he'll have a lot of catches, maybe a couple touchdowns this year. Let's go to the tight end position. We got Jimmy Graham, Julius Thomas, and Vernon Davis as the top 3. Any sleepers?
I think Kyle Rudolph from Minnesota is actually going to have a big year. He just got his big contract. He had a solid season last year. He did have injury issues, but when they needed him most, he came through. Dante?
I'm going to have to say Dennis Pitta. He's a good Ravens receiver. He was hurt most of last year, and he could be a sleeper, you know.
I do like that pick. Somebody that I didn't say in the top 3. We could add Rob Gronkowski after coming back for the Patriots. It really depends on his health, but he's a force if he could play every down. And again, I like an Eagle, Zach Ertz. He played big last year, has a full year under his belt with Chip Kelly's system. A big target. I think Foles will look his way a lot more.
Because it's never too early to talk fantasy football, here are some things you need to know heading into the 2014 NFL season. Yes, Tom Brady was down last year, but now Gronk is back and healthy. Brady will dominate and dance his way to glory. Lions receivers had the dropsies in 2013, but Detroit realized that even the best receiver in the world needs some help out there. Come on down, Golden Tate. Adrian Peterson is #1 on my draft board for running backs and superheroes. Broncos backs ran for 18 touchdowns last year, and Monte Ball is the man to own now, as he'll put the ball in ballin'. You heard me. As good as Dez Bryant was, believe it or not, he was tackled within the 5-yard line 7 times last season. His luck will change, and you'll be seeing a lot more X's this time around. A wide receiver everyone thinks is a #2, but who's actually a legit #1, Antonio Brown. He crushed down the stretch last year, and the Steelers' wideout depth is thinner than Victoria Beckham. That's right, I made a Spice Girls reference. Girl power! And always remember, if your team happens to lose this season, there's no one to blame but yourself. Should have listened more closely.
We're going to look at some deep sleepers now. Someone that you maybe would have heard of, but it's not at the top of any board this year, maybe not inside the top 20 to 30. Robert, who do you got?
I have to say Michael Floyd from Arizona. You got the 1-2 combo of Fitzgerald and him. Fitzgerald takes a lot of coverage away. He's big, he's strong, he can get up there and get the ball. Last year, when he was healthy, he had big points those weeks. Had a lot of receptions. He's going to be a big threat this year in Arizona.
Especially with Andre Roberts leaving the team. Dante?
I'm about to go with Brian Hartline. He was a solid contributor to the Sea Lions last year. Came up big a couple weeks, and he's just a solid #2. Because that's what he is. He's a 2.
Alright. I do like a lot. Could be an early round pick for me, not too early, but I like Lance Moore in Pittsburgh. With Emmanuel Sanders gone and Roethlisberger liking the check down balls, Antonio Brown can go deep, Moore coming across the middle for a short route. I like him in a PPR league, which our league is. Any running backs you're looking at?
A sleeper, you know, everyone knows that New Orleans has several running backs there with Pierre Thomas and Ingram. I would take Pierre Thomas this year. He's starting to get the bulk of the carries. He catches out of the backfields. He's a good blocker, and the Saints always are a weapon to score with Drew Brees at the helm. I can see him actually having a breakout year this year as well.
Anybody? All right, I'll take it here. Jerick McKinnon, I mentioned his name before, from the Vikings. Went to Georgia Southern, ran the ball as a running back his senior year, played quarterback before that. One of the fastest, most powerful, athletic guys in this year's NFL draft. Slipped to, I think, the 3rd round, but he's a playmaker, and with the AP maybe not getting as many carries as you think he would, McKinnon can slip in. Toby Gerhart's in Jacksonville.
I actually have someone. His name is Anthony Dixon of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Booby Dixon. Why do you think him?
I watched the game last night. He threw us a couple of good runs. He looks like a hard back.
He's really brought the Bills a spark this year in the offseason. A lot of goal line carries, which are taking away from Fred Jackson, which is a segment we're going to get into now, people who you're not going to touch. I'm not going to touch Fred Jackson this year. With Spiller at 1, he's in the middle, Booby at 3, Anthony Dixon. Spiller's going to get majority of the carries. Fred's not going to touch the ball as much, and once they get down the goal line, like Fred got last year, he's not going to get those balls. Dixon's going to get them. Anyone who you're not going to touch this year?
I'm not going to touch David Wilson from the New York Giants. He always has these neck injuries. They got Rashad Jennings. They still have Peyton Hillis out there. They got a new rookie coming in from Boston College. One of them is going to get the carries. I think David Wilson's time in the NFL is over.
Oh, I ain't touching any Eagles, that's for sure.
No Eagles.
I ain't touching a Bill.
Hey, he just said he was going to pick Anthony Dixon, but he's not touching a Bill. All right? I know no picks have been made yet, but based off this draft order and what the teams have done in the past, which teams are your 2 favorites to make the championship? Which team's going to win it? And which team's going to be in that basement this year?
I'm going to have to go with designated drinkers in the championship versus myself, McLovin's X-Rays. Last year we both had dominant teams, 1-2 at the end of the regular season. I think it's going to stay that way this year, and we'll both make it to the championship. As for the team, I don't think it's going to do so well this year. I know Team Topher won't do well, that's a given. But Mullet Masters at pick 7 there. He always picks bad picks. I would expect him to take like a Mike Vick at 7.
Wow.
I'm not feeling it for Mullet Masters this year. He's going to be down at the bottom.
The title is going to be the Weeping Water Sea Lions. We're going to win it, and I'm going to beat the Shay Shay's Water Boys.
Oh, wow.
That's it. And the basement has got to be Topher or the Masters. They're 2 consistently bad teams. One hardly ever works the wire, the other spends all his time on it and can't pick up anyone. And
speaking of JH's Water Boys, the only team in the league who's missed the playoffs the last 2 years. My championship has to be the Ely's-Briggs Surge. We won it 3 years ago. We're going to win it this year. We're going to take on... I mean... No one is going to come close to my team, but again, I think if the Drinkers can come out with a big pick at number 1, they're going to be hard to beat. I mean, maybe 1, 2, and 3. You got the Drinkers, you have Casey, and you have Christian. All at 1, 2, 3, you get one of those guys and they pan out, it's going to be hard to beat them. But my last place team, a little surprise, Team Topher. He's picking at 12. I mean, he's got 12 and 13, which you can get 2 solid guys. But if you miss on those 2 picks, you're done. I mean, he does work the waiver wire hard, but you're done if you whiff on those 2 picks. Thank you guys for joining us today. Any last words?
I think we're in for a great year this year. Be careful, watch your injuries in preseason before the draft, just to make sure you don't make a dumb mistake. Other than that, good luck to everybody in the league.
I'll see everyone here on the 20th. Go see Lions.
Yeah, just remember this year, kickers get 5 points for field goals over 50 yards, not 7. That's the only scoring change. And again, we'll see you on August 20th. Be ready to come. Bring $25. Like I said, this year we're getting a trophy. for the winner, which will be passed on year after year of the winner's end. At 7:30 August 20th, you better be prepared to draft. Thank you.
Take care.